Wow, I got to tell you about something that I observed 2 days ago. Welcome back to the Lancescurv podcast. Lancescurv here. Feeling a lot better than yesterday when I felt a little drained under the weather, but I always push hard, so that was the payback. My body said, listen, you're not doing anything today. You're going to lay down and rest yourself. I accepted it, and I feel $1 million, like $1 million today, but I'm not going to push it. I'm going to take my time, but I had to say this. This has been heavy on my mind. You know, I was in the Malcolm supermarket at Shiashi. Not that that means anything to you if you live out of the country, because you may not know where that is. But for people who are here, that's where I was. I was at the Malcolm supermarket. Wonderful, wonderful supermarket in the Shiashi area. I go there a lot. And I was minding my business and shopping. You know, I was observing the people and people watching while I shopped, and people greet you when you pass them by in the aisle and you greet them. And this one woman at one point asked me about this product that was on the shelf and which one was better. It was like a protein powder, and I don't know how she figured out I knew about this stuff, but I did. So I gave her a detailed explanation. It was a pleasant exchange, and she moved on and I moved on in a respectful way, and that's the way things should be. I was still in the supermarket because over by the sushi aisle there's a guy that works over there, and I was talking to him. And I've been going there for years, so he hasn't seen me in a while. So he says, hey man, how you doing? That kind of thing, right? So everybody's cool. People dressed up nicely, some plain, some more extravagant. It's a high-end supermarket, so it's really uplifting to be there. It's so bright and colorful and everything. So, you know, after we finished talking, because he had a couple orders he had to fill, I walked over a couple aisles and I zigzagged the aisles, and I'll zigzag it again just in case. And I just enjoy being there. So I take my time, even though I know the layout of the store, I take my time and go through everything. And sometimes when I go back the second time, I'll see something that I missed and I'll look at it. So always a pleasant experience. Anyway, there were 5 women who I noticed just came into the store. I didn't see them when they came in, but I saw them. I was there before them, right? So, you know, I walk past them, and when I walk past women, first of all, I'm very polite. And even when I was single, I never ogled them and looked them up and down if they had a nice shape and staring at them. I was always very aware of being polite and not making a woman feel uncomfortable. That's just me. Now, when I know you, I can approach you and talk to you and everything like that, because you know my character and you know who I am. Well, anyway, I walked past them with no problem, and I heard somebody say something under their breath, right? And I don't know if it was directed at me. It didn't matter. I didn't care. So I swung around the other aisle, and they came around that aisle. And there was a guy who walked behind me, past me, and evidently he heard them talking before in another part of the store. Maybe they passed each other. And I could tell he was from the South in America, right? And I heard his accent. I know these young ladies here were from New York. So he walked up to them and he said, wow, you know, I'm not running into many Americans here on my visit. Are you visiting? If I may ask, you know, my name is so-and-so. I'm from Georgia. You know, it's nice to see other Americans here. And I guess he was there for maybe not 2 weeks or maybe a month or whatever. He really was being friendly. I didn't open my mouth. He didn't know what I sounded like, right? He might have said something to me. Didn't mean he was a homo or something, right? So, and even if he's making small talk, that's none of my business. So he seemed to be really focused on one of the young ladies, even though it was 5. In general, he was facing them all. But it seemed in my quick observance that, you know, I had something I was looking on the shelf, but I was being nosy in a way, right? Because the way their faces looked, they looked screwed up in their face, like he was insulting them. And one of the young ladies said, oh, you're from the South, right? And he said, yeah, I'm from Georgia. He said that already. Well, I'm from New York, and why are you coming over here and talking to us? And who you think you are? We don't deal with nobody from the South. And they all laughed. Because, you know, it's not as much as it used to be, but there used to be from the North to the South, from the South to the North, a little bit of feeling like you guys think you're better because you're from the North. And, you know, that's stupid. That's stupid. Maybe people in other parts of the world don't understand that, but every culture has its hang-ups. So they continued to laugh when the one young lady berated him and made it seem like he was a creep, made it seem like he was out of order. And all he did, probably what he's used to, they're a little more hospitable in the South, right? And in New York, things could be a little, you know, cold. You know, people are focused and They're into who they're into. They're in the circle of friends. And if you're not part of that, then we don't know you. But they brought that attitude here. And I think it was just really out of order. And this is why, I just want to say this. This is why many men don't mess with women. I'm not saying they don't mess with women and they go into men. But no, they're not going to be as cordial. They're not going to rush to show interest, because in this world, the way it is today, there are consequences. So they don't want to be bothered with being, it's not so much the rejection, it's how they're rejected. Now, I'm not out there dating people, but I have friends of mine who, you know, they tell me their experiences. And even me coming up in my 20s, it wasn't really like that. And I grew up in New York City, you know. I stayed there until I was almost 40 before I moved down to Orlando, Florida, and then I came out here to Ghana. So to see that and to see it online and to hear it through my friends, you know, it's really sad. And why is it this way? Well, some people will say, well, it's because of the Me Too movement. Well, I'm not going to knock the Me Too movement. The Me Too movement was necessary for those people who abuse power and really hurt women, right? That whole mentality, like, okay, the guys who are in power, whether they're in power or not, the ones who are predatory and come after you and abusive and violate you, yes, that's good. But I think the Me Too movement has consequences for the regular guy who is not a predator, who is not a guy who is abusive toward women, who just is interested in a woman, wants to know if she's interested in maybe going on a date, going for some coffee, going for some pizza, or walk around the park. And if they don't click, then that's what it is. That's really what it is. Was it like this 60, 70, 80 years ago? Did your grandfather or people in that age group act like this? Why is it this way? You know, and it's not because men lack courage. They stop going after women, and I shouldn't say going after, but approaching them in a gentleman-like, sensible way. They stop because they did a cost-benefit analysis, and the math is not working anymore. The risk is catastrophic. The reward is minimal, and the entire system is rigged against the man from the start. And they're not crazy for noticing this. They're just awake. You know, if you go to any public venue, a mall, a food court, anywhere where people interact, look how the men, you see an attractive woman, but look how the men don't look at them. They keep their eyes to themselves, unless it's a group of young testosteronized men in their high school age or college age. And they might, you know, turn around, oh man, look at her, whatever. But men by themselves, they don't. They don't even look. They don't even say anything. They don't even greet the woman anymore. Because the potential, like I said, you don't know if you're going to get a screw face. You know, look like you're a creep for even being attracted to someone who is attractive. It's weaponized, you know? And the thing is, you try it today to approach a woman, you risk being filmed, posted online, called a creep, and having your life forever destroyed by the time lunchtime rolls around. You see, it's the visible disgust, loud rejection, and public humiliation. You know, it's just not worth it. So he apologized and walked away. And actually, two of the girls high-fived each other like this is some kind of victory. You come on vacation and this is your attitude? This is weird. And I'm surprised they didn't even whip out their phones and record it so they can put it up and say, oh, look at this creep. You know, but they get the validation. A lot of these women, when they go on these apps, they get the validation about how beautiful they are and everything. And I guess many women feel they have a choice now. And, you know, things that you don't control, your height, your face, your status, you know, the things you're born with or without, that's what determines whether you're confident or creepy. But here's the thing. This was like one of those videos where they expose gold diggers. This guy was already out of the store when these women were getting in the checkout line. They got there a little before me on the next checkout line. So all five of them were squeezed into the aisle. I was the next aisle over. I noticed, and I was going to take a picture of this car. There was a canary yellow Lamborghini truck outside. Now, in this particular neighborhood in East Legon, there's a lot of money people here in Ghana. So you'll see a lot of high-end and also a lot of high-end exotic cars. And it's kind of funny because I took a picture of the parking lot one day at another trip to the supermarket, and I showed a friend of mine who thought it was nothing but lions and tigers and, hungry kids standing around. And she couldn't believe it. She said, "Oh, you're lying." And I had to go back and do a videotape. But anyway, this guy's walking out. Would you believe he walked right to the canary yellow Lamborghini truck? It was a beautiful vehicle. Now, I don't lust after vehicles. Oh man, I gotta have that. I really don't care. You give me a Toyota Corolla or a Yaris and let me get around. I don't care if it's 5 years old, I'm good. But it was a really beautiful vehicle. And those young ladies, they sounded like Ralph Cramden on The Honeymooners. You remember how Ralph Cramden would get shocked at something and he would go, "Hamada, hamada, hamada, hamada." They all had the same look on their face without even tapping each other. They were stunned. Now this guy was dressed down. He had some nondescript corduroy pants on, some sneakers that seen better days, and a shirt that was kind of faded. He did have a gold chain, an inexpensive thin gold chain around his wrist, So one girl tapped the other girl. "Oh, there's your friend, the one who was trying to talk to you. You better go talk to him. You see that truck?" Now see, this is not all women, and this is not an anti-woman conversation, but you see how conditional things could be? They rejected, and that one woman really rejected because he was aiming toward her, but he would have talked with all of them in general. And they acted so rude with him, but now they wanted to revamp their outlook on him because of the vehicle that he was driving. And you better go talk to him. About what? Why would he want to talk to you now? See, it shouldn't be about a person's possessions. But this is to show how materialistic people have gotten and how this can sway things, right? And I see that a lot here in Ghana, just like I see it in America. If you seem to have money, then you have a better chance of having attention from the ladies. This is all over the world. And I believe social media had a lot to do with it. And I don't know, it's just, men really have it tough these days. And they're not approaching because they don't want to have to deal with scenarios like this. And also, even if they were treated nice initially, they don't want somebody who's with them because they may have something. And what about the guys who have nothing? The guys who are considered short and ugly and chubby and this and that. When they do acquire, those who do, they're still going to be apprehensive because of the way they've been treated by many of these types of women. And you don't want to approach. You're going to be apprehensive. You're going to be shy on it. Not weak and not scared. You have courage, but is it worth it? Is it really worth it? I don't know how you feel about that. That's just my observation, but that brought it to mind when that happened 2 days ago at the supermarket down there. And it falls in place with the brothers that I know as friends for a long time, many decades, that are still single. They're not aggressively going after women. No, they're not. They're not anymore. They're like, listen, if it comes along, it comes along. I just don't want to be bothered with any drama. I don't want to be bothered with any type of emotional baggage. And that's the other thing too. And this is not all women. So I'm going in with surgical precision on this one for those where it counts. There are a lot of wonderful women. There's some, in the chat room all the time that are wonderful, right? That I've known. I'm not saying this is the majority, but there's a certain slice, and I know some women see that also, the attitude toward men. If you're not interested, it doesn't mean you have to grin and bear it. You can say, listen, you can even lie and say you have somebody and you're committed, or you're just not interested. Now, if they're persistent and rude and whatever, now, they get what they're asking for. But I see a big shift in the attitude now, like it's some kind of game, and there's a lot of venom. But I get a lot of this information from friends of mine, And I promised him eventually that I will speak about it. And when I saw this happen the other day, and it was poetic justice in a way, because when they were going out of the store, he had pulled out, because he sat there for a while, he was doing something in his truck. And I was on my way coming out a little bit after them, and they had to walk past that truck. And when he pulled out, they made eye contact. He didn't stop, he kept going. They put their heads down, of course. How could you do that? You never know what somebody has, but it should not be about that. But men are not going to approach, and that's the reason why I spoke about this, because the risk is not worth it. Even if, they get rejected in a favorable way, like, okay, I'm not interested. It's okay, thank you. But I'm not in that headspace right now to even date or want to talk to anybody. That's all it takes. That's all it takes. Now, some men are creepy. Some men don't know how to approach, and I can understand that. But for those who do approach a woman properly, then there's no need for them to get this treatment like this, some creepy pervert predator type. And if you wonder why men are not approaching women overall, that's the reason why. Not to say that you as a woman who is listening to this is guilty of that, but men have taken a back step. They step back a little bit, and they're not going to be aggressive at all. They shouldn't be aggressive, but they're not going to open up and show you that they're interested and want to take things to another level in a gentleman-like way. Those are the only ones I'm defending, so don't think I'm defending the creeps. I want to know what you think about that, but that's something that I had on my heart that I wanted to speak about for a while. But when I saw the incident, that was something that brought it to light, because I've seen the videos, but the videos can be staged. This was something that if I had videotaped or could do it without them seeing it, and I wouldn't blast anybody, but the whole thing from when he walked up to when they were in the line and said, oh my God, look at that truck he has, you better go talk to him, to when they went by, that was like a video for me, and it stuck in my head. So that's why I had to talk about it. But brothers out there, if you go through this where you've approached a woman and she kind of went overboard, they can videotape you. I'm not saying that happened to you. They can videotape you, put you up, and now your job is, calling you to the office because maybe you look like some kind of predator or did something out of the way. The opinion that people have of you because they saw you online, everybody's a paparazzi now. Everybody has a phone and can click that button, and you don't know if you're being videotaped or not. It's crazy. Anyway, leave your opinion, leave your comments, let me know what you think about it, and I'll answer the comments that you speak out on. If you have a question or whatever, we'll continue the conversation there. Lancescurv out. On to the next one. Much love. Peace.